Hi everyone, we're Firetap Games, and in this video we're going to check out Doomcrawler, our new dungeon crawler set in the same universe as Heroes of the Sanctum. Okay, let's take a look at our game layout, starting with the epic threat deck. We have our standard threat deck along with the Inferno Worm, which is a standard threat that has come out straight away. We have our loot deck, our encounter deck, our critical hit deck, and our side quest deck. You can see here we have 3 side quests that are always available. That's how it's going to be throughout the whole game. We have 1 dungeon as part of our dungeon stack. Depending if we wanted it harder, it could be up to 3 dungeons in the stack. And you can see we have loads of dungeon cards here that we can randomize at the start of the game. I've gone with the Sanctum's Chosen as my hero. You can see he's got his own unique hero skill over here, as well as 4 base hero skills that are shared between all of the heroes. You can see we have 3 other heroes that we can choose. We've got the Pyro Mage, the Thunder Hammer, and the Lightbringer as options, and they all have their own associated unique skills. It's worth mentioning the 4 secret reward packs. This is a really cool feature in Doomcrawler which allows you to unlock really cool bonus content, not just for Doomcrawler, but for Heroes of the Sanctum, the strategy card game as well. Moving on, let's take a look at dice tracks. You can see that threats, side quests, dungeons, and heroes all have dice tracks. As the game progresses, the dice will move along the track, triggering the unique effects on each card. In addition to dice tracks, we also have the Doom die slot. This represents the dark energies that are building up in the dungeon, and as that value increases, the game is going to get much harder. We have our defense slot over here on each of the hero cards, and before the dungeon phase of the game, you get to roll a black die, and that will represent how much defense you have against the incoming threats. And finally, we have the charge slot that you can find on each of the skill cards, and that basically allows you to charge up your actions to make them more effective. Let's take a closer look at hero cards. You'll notice that each of the hero cards have a unique passive effect, as well as their hero rank. All heroes start on the standard rank, and if they get to upgrade, they will upgrade to their advanced rank where they'll have an improved dice track. The way we become advanced is by defeating epic threats, which we'll take a look at right now. This is the Ironclad Juggernaut, an example of an epic threat. Not only do they typically have higher difficulty levels, but they have much stronger effects and passive effects, which typically only heroes have. Defeating an epic threat allows your hero to upgrade from standard rank to advanced. As shown by our game booklet, we have a very cool quick reference at the back which reminds us that our objective, of course, is to escape the dungeon alive or be crushed by the forces of the rift. The game is divided into 2 phases. We have the hero phase and the dungeon phase, and we're going to start with the hero phase right now. It's worth noting that as we only have 1 dungeon card in our stack, this is the equivalent of an easy tutorial mode. So let's get started. The hero phase begins with us updating our hero's dice track. So we move our yellow die, which represents our health, to the next slot, and we've activated Banish, push 1 threat into the darkness. What does that mean? Well, we choose a threat and we literally push them into the darkness where they can't touch us for the time being. The next thing to do is perform up to 2 active hero skills. But before we do that, we should check out the dungeon and try and figure out what's actually happening around us. Over here, we have our side quests. We have Close the Portcullis, which is going to be spawning threats every round. We have Destroy the Dark Altar, which will create a new threat on the next round. But ultimately, it's going to increment our Doom die over there on the dungeon card, which is terrible as that affects the entire dungeon. Utilize the high ground is actually a good one because it's going to give us a +1 in attack. And over here in our dungeon card, the next thing that's going to be triggered is Fear, which is going to remove any of the white charged dice slots that we have set up for the next round. All of these things are situations we need to consider before making our next move. Before we make any decisions about the hero skill we want to use, it's a good idea to actually understand what the hero skills actually are. So, starting with our 4 core hero skills. Attack allows us to target a threat that is not in the darkness to defeat. We have quest, which allows us to target side quests to complete. We have escape to target dungeons to clear, and we have rest to target heroes to heal. And in the case of the Sanctums chosen, we have the Strike of Valor hero skill. And that is essentially another kind of attack action, but it allows us to lower the difficulty rating, which is found in the top left of threats and epic threats, to make it a little bit easier. As the Infernal Worm is already in the darkness, it means we can't target it with attack actions. So let's go for a quest action, which allows us to target one of the side quests. The Destroy the Dark Altar has a difficulty of 5, which means I need to roll 6 or higher for that to be effective. In Close the Portcullis, the difficulty is 3, which means I need to roll 4 or higher for that effect to be meaningful. So let's go for Close the Portcullis. So we're going to now perform our quest action by going through all of the actions in the action list from top to bottom. The first one says, target a side quest to quest, and it shows an icon of a black die plus the little charge icon. So if I had a white die on this charge slot, I could combine what I roll now with this black die with whatever the value is on that charge slot. But as I don't have one, all I've got is this black die. So here we go. Okay, we're gonna bring in the dice tower. All right, here we go. We got a 5. And in order to determine our success value, we subtract the difficulty from what we've just rolled. And so 5 take away 3 is 2. And 2 take away our success value of 2 is 0, which means we've completed this side quest. Whenever we complete a side quest, defeat a threat, clear a dungeon, or basically get rid of any card that has a dice track, we get to trigger what's called a loot roll. And a loot roll gives us the chance of claiming new loot. So the way it works in this case, we're gonna take the blue die from Close the Portcullis, we're gonna roll it, and if we get higher than its own difficulty value, a 3, then we get to get a new loot card. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, we got a 4, which means we get new loot. And we have the Rift Blade. Reduce the difficulty of all threats by 1. That's pretty sweet. We're gonna put that right here. And we're going to get rid of this side quest. And there always has to be 3 side quests. So we're gonna automatically get a new one. You'll notice that that icon here will show us where to put the die and what value to use. So it's a 6 in this case. And this one is Scavenge with a Silent Thief. This is an interesting one. The next step will be Steal, and it says you may take 1 loot from the discard pile, which is a shame because we have no loot in the discard pile right now. But anyway, we'll move on. Now that we've completed our first action of our quest hero skill, we're going to move to the second action, which is charge another active skill. This is how it works. We take the white die, we're going to roll it using our dice tower over here. We have a 5, and we're going to choose which hero skill to put this on. So I'm going to put this on the escape skill. So now the next time I do the escape skill, we're going to have 5 to use in conjunction with the black die that we roll, which is very, very helpful. The next action is draw and resolve an encounter card. So we're going to get an encounter card. An unclaimed gift. As you proceed into the depths of the dungeon, you stop momentarily to smirk at the unexpected item before you. Unlocked, unprotected, and accessible, the old chest lays open for its gifts to be claimed. You may claim a loot card. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to move our encounter card over there in our discard pile, and we're going to get a new piece of loot, which is Imperial Shield. After resolving a defend action, apply a +1 defense if the result of the black die was less than 6. Okay, we're now going to complete the quest hero skill by deactivating this skill. And to do that, we simply turn it round, and that shows that that skill is deactivated. We have one more skill to do before our turn is over. Our escape hero skill has been charged with a value of 5, and the difficulty of the dungeon is only 3, which means no matter what we roll here, we're going to be successful. So this seems like a no-brainer. We'll notice that escape, it shows the icon for the black die plus the charge slot, and that's going to be the result we can use for escaping the dungeon. Let's do that now. Okay, here we go. We rolled a 2, so together that's 7. The difficulty is 3, which means our result is 4. But it's worth noting that for escape actions, no matter how successful we were, we can only reduce it by 1 each time. So we are now on 3. The next thing we do is charge another active skill. And just as we did last time, we're going to take the white die back into the dice tower. And oh wow, we got a 6. So I'm going to put that on attack. And that is now charged for the next go. And we move on to the next action, which is to draw and resolve an encounter card. Okay, here we go. The Crimson Step. As the pressure on the tile triggers the mechanism, a sharp steel blade shoots upward in a swift, deadly arc, tearing through your flesh. Blood pours from the wound, and you know it will take precious moments to stop the bleeding. Receive 1 damage. You cannot perform additional skills this turn. So, we have to take 1 damage. So we're going to move our 4 into a 3. And we can't do any more skills, which is fine because that was our second skill anyway. Lastly, we deactivate the skill by turning it to the other side. And before we move to the dungeon phase, we have to defend our hero. To do that, we take our black die back into the dice tower. We rolled a 3. We're going to put that on our defense slot right here. And that is going to be the amount of defense we have during the dungeon phase. So the first thing that happens is we update the dice track of all the threats that are in play. But as this one is in the darkness, nothing happens. We get to skip that. The next thing is we update all the side quests. And so what happens is this one moves to the next slot. That triggers steal. You may take 1 loot item from the discard pile. We have no items in the discard pile, so nothing happens. For destroy the dark altar, it moves to the next one. Spawn 1 threat, so a new threat comes out. We have the flame burst infernal. We're gonna take another red die. We're gonna put him on 2 as it shows here. So he's set up for the next round. Utilize the high ground. We've unlocked skill bonus, apply +1 to attack actions. So that counts for the whole round. Lastly, we update the dungeon by moving it to the next slot. And here it says fear, remove the charged white die from all hero skills. Oh no. So this 6 that we had on attack, we've lost that. That goes away. And that's the end of the dungeon phase. We're now back at the hero phase for a new round. The threats now return from the darkness and the hero updates his dice track. So we're going to move it here. And that gives us Power Blade, apply +1 to attack actions. We get to take this off too. And we also have a +1 attack from utilize the high ground. So we actually have a +2 of attack right now for this round. I do want to attack this round, but as we lost our charged value of 6, I think maybe a better route is to rest first. That's going to allow us to push one of the threats into the darkness. It's going to allow us to rest the hero, which will hopefully give us the health that we lost in the previous round. It will activate these 2 hero skills that we already used and charge another active skill, which will hopefully give us a bit more of a charge value on attacking for us to use in the second action. So I think I'm going to go with that. The Flame Burst Infernal isn't going to be doing anything this round. You can see it has a blank slot. However, the Infernal Worm will be doing things. So I think I'm going to target the Infernal Worm and I'm going to push it into the darkness as it shows as the first action of rest. And then we're going to rest our hero. So we're going to use the black die combined with a charge die, which we don't have here. And we're going to put that into the dice tower and see what we get. We got a 3. For heroes, the difficulty is actually the value of the yellow die. So as I rolled a 3, that's not higher than the 3 that's already on the card. Therefore, we don't get to heal. Next, we activate all skills, and we do that very simply by flipping these cards back. And lastly, we're going to charge another active skill. I'm going to take the white die into the dice tower. We only got a 1, but anyway, it's better than nothing. So we have 1 charged to go towards our attack value. We're now going to target the Flame Burst Infernal. We have +1 charged. We have +1 from the Power Blade, +1 from Utilize the High Ground, which essentially gives us +3 attack, good to go. We also have the Rift Blade, which will reduce the difficulty of the Flame Burst Infernal by 1. So it's +3 attack against 3 difficulty. No matter what we roll, it's going to be successful. So we're going to work through the action list. Target threat to attack, black die plus charge slot. So here we go. We rolled a 2. So we have 2, add 1, that's 3, +1, 4, +1, 5. So it's 5 total. The difficulty is 3 because of the Rift Blade. So 5 take away 3 is 2. Just about did it. So 2 take away 2 is 0. The Flame Burst Infernal is defeated. Here we go. We rolled a 3. So we didn't quite make that. 4 is greater than 3. We don't get any new loot this time, I'm afraid. So let's put him in the discard pile. And that threat is defeated. We're now going to charge another active skill. We got a 3. I'm going to put that over on escape because I think that's going to work out quite well. And we get to target a threat to attack, but this time with only the black die. We don't get to apply a charge to that as well. But as that threat is in the darkness, we can't target that, so we have to skip that. And finally, deactivate this skill. To wrap up the hero phase, we just have to defend our hero. We take the black die and we put 5 on our defense slot. However, let's not forget our Imperial Shield. We can apply a +1 defense if the result of the black die was less than 6. So let's change that back to a 6 now. We didn't do that in the last round. We didn't really need to. There was no threats around, but we should pay attention to that moving forward. We're now going to complete round 2 with the dungeon phase, and as always, we're going to update all of the dice tracks. So, starting with this side quest, it's another steal. We have no loot in the discard pile. We've obviously skipped Inferno Worm because he's in the darkness. We're going to move this to the empty slot, nothing happens. This moves to the next slot, which is exactly the same. It's a +1 attack for this round. And then the dungeon moves to the next slot, which is Treading Bones. Apply -1 to quest and escape actions. And the threats move back from the darkness and we begin round 3. We take off our defense die, we don't need that. And we move to the next slot on our dice track over here, which is nothing. And we can now decide which hero skills we want to do. So this round, I'm going to go straight into an escape action. We already have 3 charged. It's only 3 difficulty. This is going to be successful. So we take the black die into the dice tower. It goes. Even though we only got a 1, it doesn't matter. It's a success. We now change the 3 into a 2. We move to the next one. Charge another active skill. Oops. Well, I'm going to take that 6. Let's go into quest. And we're going to draw and resolve an encounter card. Healing Waters. The small pool of water is surrounded by inscriptions of an ancient language. The liquid glows with a calm blue aura. You realize these are the same healing waters you remember from your youth. Before the contamination spread, many were healed using its powerful energies. You may heal up to 2 damage. So that sounds pretty good to me. That goes into the discard pile and we go back up to 4. Notice that we can't go higher than the icon shows on your dice track. We now deactivate the escape skill, and we can go ahead and do a quest skill. As we have 6 charged in our quest skill, we're gonna go with the Destroy the Dark Altar side quest. It only has a difficulty of 5, which means no matter what we roll now, it's going to be successful. So let's go ahead and do that, because the next time it updates its dice track, it's going to trigger Doomed, which will increment the Doom die over there, and that is always terrible. So let's go ahead and do that. Target side quest to quest, black die plus charge slot. Here we go. We've got a 2 and a 6, that's 8. So obviously 8 is higher than the 5, it only has 1 there, it's done. So we're going to trigger a loot roll. We're gonna take the blue die, we're gonna roll it. We got a 6, that means we get new loot too. So I'm gonna claim my loot card, and we have the Pyre Stone Grimoire. After you push a threat into the darkness, it momentarily bursts into flames, reducing its health by 1, limited to 1 threat per round. So we now have 3 loot cards. We have a maximum of 7 in Doomcrawler, which makes it a lot of fun. Now we replace the side quest. We have, oh no, Destroy the Doom Rift. We're gonna set that to 2. Whoops, there we go. It's going to spawn a threat, and then if it gets to this slot, it's going to spawn an epic threat. So not great news, but we'll continue. The next thing we're going to do is charge another active skill. And we have 1, which I think I'm gonna put on rest. And draw and resolve an encounter card.
Cursed Relic. You spot a strange idol embedded in the wall, its eyes glowing faintly. As you approach, a sudden pulse of dark energy erupts from it, filling the air with a chilling force. Your body feels weighed down by an unseen curse, threatening to crush your will. Roll the black die. If the result is 3 or less, draw a critical hit.
So let's see how this turns out. Oh no. This means we have to draw a critical hit. We have Weeping Crimson. It says, when resolving a rest action, you must target this card instead of the hero. So we're going to put that over there. We're going to take an orange die. We're going to put it on 1. And what that effectively does is it stops us from doing rest actions until we can get rid of this card. We're now going to deactivate the skill, and before we move to the dungeon phase, we defend the hero. 1, but we're going to use our Imperial Shield to turn that into a 2. And if I can find it, here we go. And now we move to the dungeon phase. Okay, we're going to update all of the dice tracks. So firstly, the threat moves to borrow. Heroes cannot target this threat. Now for side quests, we go to timeout, replace this side quest. So we're gonna get a new one here. Silence the summoning bell, we're gonna put that on 5. That's going to be spawning new threats from the next turn. This moves to this empty spot right there. Utilize the high ground also goes to timeout, which means we replace this. And we have Scorch the Hexbound Tome. I'm gonna put that there. That's gonna allow us to, oh, it's not good. It's gonna apply -1 to our first hero action. Not great. That's gonna start from the next turn though. And then the dungeon phase is going to move over here. We're going to spawn the Doom die value amount of new threats. Right now it's 1, so 1 new threat comes out. We have a Night Stalker. We'll get him on number 2 as well. And now we're ready for round 4. So we'll remove the defense. We don't need that now. And we're going to move this to the next position on the dice track. We have respite, rest your hero. But let's not forget, the weeping crimson critical hit means whenever we do a rest action, we can't do it properly. We can't target the hero. Instead, we have to target this weeping crimson. We've got to take care of our wound. Otherwise, we can't do any heal actions. So let's try that now. All right, we're doing our heal action from the dice track. We got a 4. The difficulty is 4, so that's a no-go. That doesn't count. That did not help. So we're going to start with our first action, which again, we're going to do rest and see if we can get a better result. First, we're going to push a threat into the darkness. We're going to choose this one because right now this guy's borrowed. We can't target him. So the Night Stalker, he's being pushed into the darkness. Now we get to do our rest action. Let's see how this goes. 6, nice. Okay. So 6 take away 4 is 2. 2 is greater than 1. That's solved. So we can get rid of this. And as always, we've got rid of a dice track. Even if it's a tiny one, we trigger a loot roll. We got 1. That doesn't count. We don't get any loot from that. But at least we got rid of our critical hit. We're now going to activate all skills. Let's straighten these out. Okay, and then charge another active skill. I got a 4, and I think I'm going to go with escape. I almost forgot, our Pyrestone Grimoire says when we move a threat into the darkness, it momentarily bursts into flames, so it's taken 1 damage as well. So we're now going to do an escape action. Escape, black die, plus the charge slot. We're already on 4. The difficulty is 3. We're gonna be successful here. So here we go. 3 and 4 is 7. We get to move that down to 1. All right. And we're now going to charge another active skill. Oh, so only 2, but I think we're gonna go with attack on that one. And draw and resolve an encounter card.
Misplaced. You notice something has changed. It is as if you feel somewhat less burdened. As you look through your inventory, you suddenly realize what has happened. If you are holding loot, choose one at random to discard.
Oh no. So we're going to take all our loot cards. We're going to shuffle them up and we'll see which one we lose. We're losing the Imperial Shield. Oh no. Gonna put that over there. Gonna put our 2 cards back. Okay. And finally, we're going to deactivate this skill. We're now gonna wrap up the hero phase with defending our hero. We got a 3. We don't get to boost that anymore. We lost our shield. And let's see how this plays out. The dungeon phase starts with the threats. So we're going to move down to this position, and that is Ravage. We're going to receive 2 damage. So if we have defense, that's going to go from 3 to 1. And what's happening here is first you take damage in defense, and if you run out of defense, you're going to start to take damage directly to your health. If you get to 0 health, you are defeated. So let's continue. Okay, next we have our side quests. So this one is spawn 1 threat. So a new threat's gonna come out here. We have a soul burner. Starts on 5. The next one, destroy the Doom Rift. That's going to spawn another threat. You can see things are going a bit crazy now. So that's a skull smasher. He starts on a 4. And then Scorch the Hexbound Tome. That says apply -1 to your first hero action. That's great. Next, we're going to update our dungeon, and we have Doomed. Increment the Doom die by 1. So this Doom die slot is now on 2. Things are going to get much worse. And as this Night Stalker comes back from the darkness, we're now ready for the next round. So that was 4 rounds of Doomcrawler. We were playing through Altar of the Broken Souls. You can see that through the first round, even though things looked a little bit on the easy side, by round 4, we're already getting absolutely swarmed. We've lost some of our loot, although we've gained some cool loot too. We're starting to level up our hero. We didn't come across any epic threats yet, but we've seen 4 of the standard threats so far. It's also worth mentioning that every single threat and epic threat in Doomcrawler is absolutely unique. There are no duplicates in this game. Everything is unique, everything has their own dice track. So every time you play this game, the randomization will bring something new out of it. It's a lot of fun, and we hope that came across from watching us play through this. And with that, we'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody who's been supporting us. Without you, there would be no Heroes of the Sanctum. We truly are grateful, and with your support, we hope to continue to expand this universe many years into the future. Thanks so much. We'll see you all soon.